Hello everyone and welcome to Anime Jump Episode 5. A little late, a week late. But, so first things first, I will not be covering the stuff that I missed, aside from a few things. I literally just could not record, not have the time to record. So, it is what it is. But, and I'm joined by Dave, and for the first time, he's going to be here for the whole episode. We're talking Naruto. We're talking Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Boku no Hero Academia. It's a big episode. So we're going to talk about Dragon Ball Super first, which was on break last week. And so let's talk about Episode 3, which was kind of a better episode than the first two, but not by much.
It was better, but not good.
Yeah, we're still in this whole setup to Battle of Gods, and there's been one big change to the plot of Battle of Gods, and that's that Bulma's birthday party is now taking place on a giant-ass boat instead of being at Capsule Corp. And this episode was about everyone going there, and Beerus learning about the Super Saiyan God. That was literally it. It's all that stuff straight from the movie.
Pretty much. We're still bored.
And next week's episode,
Something kind of hit me. Speaking of next week's episode, I'm pretty much convinced that Pilaf's gang becoming kids again is a nod to GT.
You think so?
Well, remember, it was Pilaf's gang that caused Goku to become a kid in GT.
That's true.
I think it's like a subtle nod.
Be interesting. I'd like it. I can get behind it. I can dig it. Sucker!
Can you dig that? Sucker!
But yeah, Dragon Ball Super, I don't even know how you even describe how shitty Dragon Ball Super has been. We've talked about this in detail, I think, up until this point.
It's boring!
But man, it's fucking boring.
I've already explained this several times, but just compare the start of Dragon Ball Super with the start of every other Dragon Ball related property. It's insane! Yep. The first episode of Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT, something happens to kickstart the adventure. Or to kickstart the fighting, or what have you. Something important happens right away that they have to do something. With Dragon Ball Super, it's meandering nothingness. The problem with Dragon Ball Super is when they said they were treating it as a continuation of Dragon Ball Z, they weren't lying. It really feels like just as if they're continuing it as if Dragon Ball Z never ended. So we're having episodes of downtime that aren't really reintroducing characters or anything. It's just downtime in the Dragon Ball world.
Yeah. And to make matters worse, it is just retreading over stuff that you know everyone's already seen. Every Dragon Ball fan watched Battle of Gods.
Yeah.
So, I think that's probably the most insulting part, is that they're retreading over Battle of Gods, and they're doing it so slowly.
The pacing has been awful.
I have no problem with them redoing Battle of Gods with some changes to make it fit the Dragon Ball Super plot. But man, oh my god, I have never been bored to tears by Dragon Ball before, but they're doing a really fine job of that.
The only fight we've gotten so far in Dragon Ball Super was Goten and Trunks and a snake. And Beerus taking on aliens.
We're about to get to the first fight between Goku and Beerus, but that's a squash. That's so short. It doesn't even count.
Yeah, pretty much.
It sucks. The first fight's shit. But I'm just not liking Dragon Ball Super. I'm not looking forward to the next episode. Episode 5 at least has some promise. because there's going to be hopefully some good animation with the fights and shit, but that's about as far as it goes. In my opinion.
I think Dragon Ball Super is going to become more interesting once we get past the old, stomping grounds. That's where the real test is going to be in terms of Dragon Ball Super being a decent series. But right now, this first arc is just unbearable.
Yep. And that's disappointing to me. As a Dragon Ball fan, that's sad. Because I want to like this show. I really do. But they don't want me to. They really don't.
Fuck it, I'll say it. Dragon Ball GT had a better start.
Yeah, and we've said that before.
But I mean, even going into... That's just first episode comparison. First arc right now, Dragon Ball GT is still got an edge over the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, that's fair. And I never thought I would ever compliment Dragon Ball GT. I hate Dragon Ball GT.
You and everybody else.
But complimenting GT that just shows you how bad that this is.
Pretty much.
Anyway, that's Dragon Ball Super Episode 3 is now getting an Abdullah versus Carlos Colon rating for me. It's been sitting at Jobber, but now it's getting a little fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
So, now we're going to talk about something that we've never actually talked about on this show. Naruto. So, a little background with my history with Naruto, and then we'll give yours as well. Naruto was one of my gateway anime. I'm not going to lie. I liked Dragon Ball, I liked Yu-Gi-Oh! But Naruto came on when I was in 6th grade. Came on Toonami. And I was hooked to Naruto. I loved the characters. I loved the world. I collected the manga. I didn't collect the anime because anime was expensive. I collected the manga. I watched the anime every day. I really, really enjoyed Naruto. And I continued to enjoy Naruto into the time skip and the Shippuden. The decline in Naruto... For me, personally, I began to notice it. 2 things happened. One, I got into One Piece. This was around the Hayden and Kakuzu arc, which is still one of my favorite arcs in Naruto. But I got into One Piece at the beginning of that arc, which was doing the Subodi Archipelago stuff, which was a game changer for the One Piece world. That's a whole nother discussion. The other thing that happened is after that arc... we started to get into more of this Sasuke stuff. The fight with Itachi wasn't bad. The arc wasn't bad. The Sasuke versus Killer Bee, that stuff wasn't bad. It was really the stuff after the Killer Bee fight where I actually had to take a step back and think, what the fuck is going on? And from there, I still believe that it was all downhill. The war arc really kind of drove the point home that Naruto was not the same series it was when I first got into it. It changed. It wasn't as good. I began to despise it as much as I despised Bleach, which was a pretty big deal because even back then I wasn't a big fan of Bleach. But, yeah. And then that Naruto ended, and I was actually okay with the ending. I had nothing really... There's nothing else they could really have added to it. I thought this was a good stop. They announced a movie called The Last that would tell the story of how Naruto fell in love with Hinata. And that's what we're going to talk about here in a minute. But, Dave, what was your history with Naruto? How did you feel about Naruto in the beginning and by the end of it?
Well, I kind of first caught Naruto on Toonami in high school. By the time I got into it, uh, it was already well into Shippuden as far as the manga goes by that point. But I first saw it on Toonami. I was like, hey, this is interesting. I'll keep watching it and see where it goes. And I kind of just went from there. I found subtitled versions of the anime on websites, and I watched those. Pretty much from the beginning, I marathon watched it, and then I got into it. And I caught up to the manga, and there were no more episodes. So I was like, okay, I'll read the manga. And I started reading the manga, and it kind of just went on from there. Actually, I think it just got to Shippuden in the manga by the time I caught up. Or just shortly after. I know when I finished watching the anime for the subtitled version, it was well into the march of the filler, if you remember that.
Oh, how could I forget?
Where it was literally...
Naruto's famous for that.
Yeah, but the march of the filler is the most notorious bit of filler. It was like literally 100 episodes of filler.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
But it was a rough time. And from there, I read the manga and I really liked it. Even past the point where you saw the decline, I still liked it. I looked forward to reading it every week. It really wasn't until towards the end of the war arc that I really started hating what I was reading. Once we got into like the final set of fights, did I really start thinking, wow, this is shit. And I enjoyed a lot of it, probably stuff that I probably shouldn't have, but I didn't care then. It was manga. I never really thought too deep about stuff like that when I read it. I looked at it like comic books. I just read them because it was something to read and it was interesting enough. It kept my attention. And by the time we got to like the final fights of the war arc, especially when like Toby's revealed, stuff like that, this is just getting ridiculous. And it was becoming a lot of bullshit cliches, just bullshit all around. And when it ended, I was okay to see it end. It was kind of like, you were around long enough. And while I like the characters and want to see more of how their lives play out, by the time it was over, it was kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like pulling the plug.
Yeah.
That's the most accurate way to describe it. It was the most accurate way to describe it. You were pulling the plug on a sick and dying patient. And it was the right time to go.
Yeah. So I guess that brings us to the last, which was our first bit of post manga ending story, not including Gaiden because technically the last came out before that. So the last Naruto the movie, which is a very weird title in retrospect, but considering there's a new movie coming out in like 3 days, but hey, gotta milk that cash cow. So basically it's the story about Naruto and Hinata. Well, Naruto falling in love with Hinata, because unless you're an idiot, you've known for a long time who Hinata's liked. So this movie takes place 2 years after the end of the war arc, and so peace has returned. So it seems, anyway. It actually turns out that the plot of Majora's Mask has begun in the Naruto universe, and the moon is falling. Breaking up bit by bit and falling to the earth. In the meantime, that's like to me that's the subplot, and it's a shitty subplot. We'll get to that in a minute. This movie shines the most when it's telling you the story between these two characters, Naruto and Hinata. Everything else is bad, in my opinion. Anyway, Dave, what do you think about that?
I think I said it best when I was talking to you about this on Skype, that yes, the best part of this movie is the character development between Naruto and Hinata and how their romance blooms. That really is the best part. But everything else is a standard Naruto movie.
And that's not necessarily a good thing, considering that this is being
really
presented to us as canon material.
That's the biggest problem. It has all of the cliches of Naruto movies and just general filler, yet this is canon.
Yeah. And there's no debate, like, you know, with the newest One Piece movies, there's a lot of debate about their, you know, place in the timeline, because of, you know, other arcs that were going on and whatnot. There's no debating with Naruto The Last. This fits perfectly in the timeline. It's canon. We know it's canon. Kishimoto said this is the story of how these two characters fall in love. So, this is a legit arc in the Naruto timeline. And even then, even though we say the best parts is, you know, when they shine on the characters, there are even points with that where I was groaning. And particularly there's a scene early on too. Like, the first 20 minutes are kind of sped through, kind of like, oh, look at these characters, look what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. You get some cameos and whatnot. But it's really after the first 20 minutes that the plot really begins. Hinata's sister, what's her name?
Yeah.
Hanabi? She's kidnapped by Toneri's crew. And, from there, the plot really kind of picks up. And we get this scene early on where they fall into some weird water, and it puts them into genjutsu. And now we get some trippy dream shit with Naruto realizing, oh, this girl, Hinata, has always cared about me. She loves me. And he decides, I love her. He even says in the dream, there's like this weird segment where they go back to where he was having ramen with Sakura and Ino and them, and he randomly goes, oh yeah, I love Hinata. And it's just like, huh, okay. Then, but the part that gets me is after they do this, there's like 20 minutes where you actually get to see them spending time with each other. And even though, yeah, Naruto already likes her, blah, blah, blah at this point, I wasn't happy with this part as much as you were. You can like this part a bit more than me, because I feel as if this would have been the more natural way for Naruto to realize, like, as he spent time with her, he has those flashbacks where he thinks about the things she's done and said about him.
I like...
Instead of forcing it down your throat before that.
I like the scenes themselves. I just think that the, you know, trippy illusion scene was not needed. And it's kind of funny. It just shows how dense he is, because Hinata outright said to him already that she loved him.
Yeah, and the pain.
They even show that clip.
Yeah, even reanimated it, because it was so shittily animated before.
And yeah, they kept re-showing that clip, and he finally catches on. And there's no explanation as to why he's seeing this either. Just that it's genjutsu.
We don't know why that's his genjutsu. Yeah.
I mean, there's no explanation for it. There's no reason for it to... Like, if they said it affects the mind in terms of, like, what you see or what you want to see or something like that, there's no reason for him to even have this other than just for the sake of shoehorning this plot in. And I like the actual scenes where they spend time together. It's just that this particular forced plot point overshadows it. And I think the parts... And yeah, you know what? If you wanted to see the romance between Naruto and Hinata, these were sweet scenes. You know, this is... In a way, it's cathartic for all this time that they've teased it. You know? But at the same time, it's like... You know, they kind of shot themselves in the foot. So, I just... You know... I think the scenes themselves are good. It's just that one scene before it that just really...
It puts a damper on them. It's you could cut that out, and the movie would be a lot better.
Yeah. I agree with that.
There's that one scene which has beautiful animation, which I will give this movie credit. It's beautiful, animation-wise. But there's that one scene where they're in the ruins town and the sun's setting, and he looks over at her and the wind's blowing, and his eyes get big and he starts to blush a little bit. That would have been the perfect scene where Naruto goes, boom, I think I like this girl.
Yeah, that would have been the scene where suddenly he realizes, oh, fuck. I mean, like...
Yeah.
The problem with the trippy scene is not the visual of Naruto being placed in the past and seeing this stuff. It's why it's there. It's
never explained.
But I mean,
all.
why from the artistic point of view? It's only there to basically move this plot forward. If they had that visual of Naruto reading the note from Hinata, or Naruto, standing there in a dream, maybe if it was a dream sequence after they spent time with each other, that would have been better. But just placing it right before all that happens is just them saying, hey, dipshit, fall in love.
Yeah. But I guess that's enough about that aspect of the movie. So from there, Hinata ends up going with Toneri, who is the villain. He is a descendant of, what's her fucking name? Kaguya, and all that fucking end of Naruto bullshit. He's been living on the moon. Yeah, bear with us here. He's been living on the moon with puppets. And he wants to destroy
the six paths
world.
people.
God, what? Which brother? The sixth. Fuck in hell, I can't remember their names. Damn it, I should have looked this up beforehand. He wants to destroy the world because prophecy. There we go. That's the best way to describe it, as simply as I can. Because prophecy. So, and then, of course, he has Hinata, and he's going to marry Hinata because she's a Byakugan princess. They can activate this special eye power, which is broken. Blah, blah, blah. Eyes. Naruto. Eyes. That's how it works. But... Fuck this plot. Fuck this plot. I hate talking about this part of the plot. So, Naruto and pals find out how to get to him on the moon. And they fight him on the surface of the moon. They scream and talk and do all kinds of things on the surface of the moon. They stand perfectly on the moon's surface, which you can explain with chakra. You can explain that. But this all looks really fucking stupid. It's fucking bad.
Well, the problem with this scene is not so much that they're fighting on the moon and it's normal. The problem is, for the majority of the time they spend on the moon, they show the moon as if it's just another planet with like an actual atmosphere and all that other shit. And then suddenly the illusion is broken and they're just on the moon and it looks like the realistic moon surface. So, if it's supposed to be the realistic moon surface, then, one, nobody should be able to breathe. Unless suddenly chakra can just be used as an astronaut suit.
Don't give him ideas.
But it's just silly looking. And that fight in general was fucking bullshit.
Naruto should have, and even though he kind of did, Naruto beat him with one punch, because throughout the whole movie, Toneri's like, your fist will never reach me, blah, blah, blah. So it was kind of expected that he'd beat him with one punch. Doesn't make it any less stupid. But
one of the biggest things...
he beats him with one punch,
one of the biggest...
and This is after hold on. After he spends the whole movie not using any of his powers. He doesn't use his, like, the power he got from the Sage of Six Paths. He doesn't decide to use that until the very end. Which would have obliterated Toneri right away. They wouldn't have to fight on the surface of the moon. Hinata never would have been kidnapped. Nothing. He could have obliterated him right then and there. The end. Good game. But no. Can't do that. Because that would take away the plot of the movie. So instead, we must suffer through Naruto not using his powers and getting his ass kicked.
The only explanation that they really could have had for that would have been if Naruto got rusty. But...
which is implied. It is implied in the manga that takes place like 10 years later.
Yeah, but that's a completely different thing. I mean, if he got rusty during that fight, they would have fucking said it. And yeah. It almost makes it seem like he doesn't try.
He doesn't take it seriously.
There's the scene where he's chasing after Hinata and jumping off of the clones. And it's like, shouldn't he be much faster? Shouldn't he be able to be much faster? There's a scene at the very end of the movie where he blasts some energy to shoot himself up super fast. Couldn't he have done that?
Dragonball
style.
Yeah,
couldn't he have done that? I mean, a lot of the stuff with Naruto's powers, they're inconsistent for the sake of having a movie. And it's so obvious.
Yeah. I mean, by the end of the Naruto manga, him and Sasuke both were like...
gods!
How strong were they? Yeah, they were pretty much gods. And apparently, out of the two of them, Sasuke is the only one who retains his fucking fighting prowess.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And to the degree that, they keep Sasuke out of the movie except for a cameo appearance, because again, he would just bust Toneri, one shot, done. Fucking wipe his hands off and go, I'm gonna go wander around in the desert some more.
Speaking of Toneri, he sucked.
He sucked so much. And you know what pissed me off the most is that he basically got talk no jutsu'd at the end because he's alive and they don't do anything with him. They're just like, oh, okay, go back to the moon.
Pretty much. And you already mentioned this scene, but one of the scenes that really pissed me off was the scene where Hinata chooses to go with him. That was so fucking cliched. They didn't even give it 5 minutes before Hinata was like, oh, I really only did this to find my sister.
Yep. And not to mention, that was the scene they also decided to have Naruto randomly confess his love. Yeah. I was like, okay, that's a thing.
That was the fucking, probably the lowest point of the movie, I would say. That scene.
Yeah.
Just everything about it was so wrong. But I didn't like Toneri at all. I thought all this shit with the Byakugan was fucking boring. Everything that wasn't just those two characters being characters, was boring. I didn't give a shit. Like if they had if the entire movie was Naruto and Hinata hanging out for a day, that would have been better.
Yep. Maybe they fight some like small time villain and they crush them together.
Yeah.
And just anything better than this, what we actually
And then they
got.
they almost tried to sexualize the fuck out of Hinata in that dress. Did you see that? Like with the like thicker lips and shit, and I don't know, maybe it's something I just noticed. But they really tried to, especially when like the kiss with the thing in the mouth, they really tried to make it seem like he was about to bone her.
I didn't notice that much, but I wasn't really paying that much attention at that point. I was already so disenchanted with the movie that I was just like, okay.
Yeah, they really, like, it was weird. It was really weird. I mean, the only thing that guy's had around were puppets, so I'd imagine he'd be pent up and frustrated, but at the same time, it's like, Jesus Christ, dude. You know?
Yeah, calm down a little bit.
And we already know the dude's a creeper because he fucking cuts out Hanabi's eyes.
Yeah, which they casually give back to her.
Because that's how eyes work.
Yep. In Naruto they do, anyway. But, so I guess I think that's enough about this movie. Rate this movie.
Well, the only thing I wanted to say about the ending was we did get to see the wedding and after the movie where we get to see the kids.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was nice. You know what? That was nice.
I even liked the kiss at the end, just because of the actual scenery. The whole idea was cheesy as hell, but the actual like colors and it was visually nice.
Yeah, I suppose.
But if I had to rate this movie though, easily Jobber, easily. Maybe even lower. The only reason I would say Jobber over Abdullah was because you did have those nice scenes where they were being characters. You know, that at least was a positive. But everything else, if those scenes weren't there, this would have easily been Abdullah or even Bella bullshit.
Yeah, I would say this is probably a definite Jobber. Which is a shame because actually going into this movie, I was kind of looking forward to it because I wanted to see what they were going to do. But then, of course, I heard things about it pretty early on. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to watch it. You told me things about it, and I was like, man, I definitely don't want to watch it. But then I got bored and watched it anyway. But, yeah, I'd say Jobber is probably the best thing that this movie deserves. The potential was there, but they botched it so hard that there's no way they deserve anything more than that. But I wouldn't say it was quite Abdullah or Bella bullshit, again, as you said, because there was some semblance of character development going on.
Yeah.
So. Alright, so next we're going to go to... We have 2 weeks worth of My Hero Academia, or Boku no Hero Academia to talk about. So we're kind of just going to talk about what's happened in general. This fight with Stain is pretty fucking awesome.
Why don't we just say it? Stain is an awesome character.
Stain, we talked about Stain before, but I'm going to say it again. Stain's probably one of the best villains to come out in the shonen in general in a while. I just love his design. I love his reason for doing what he does, and that is really important to me when it comes to villains. To have a good villain, he has to have... I like my villains to have proper reasoning and story behind why they do what they do. And Stain's is so well done, and the speeches he makes are so awesome. It's just like, man... This is what's kind of putting this series above some of the other ones right now. The writing, the design, the artwork. This series is hype.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice for a villain to have motivation. And don't get me wrong. Being a kid who grew up in the 90s, I don't mind some villains who are just villains for the sake of being villains. Like Fist of the North Star, I love me some Kaio. And he is just a villain who is a villain for the sake of being a fucking villain. But if you're going to go that route, you need to be pretty fucking menacing. Stain has the fucking drama, he has the reason, he has all that, and still manages to be fucking scary.
His quirk is fucking terrifying. If he touches you, you're
His
fucked.
design is terrifying. I mean, he looks like somebody who would kill you in an instant.
Yep. But, so, the big plot point in the past 2 weeks has been, basically, Stan's gonna kill Ida. Because even though he's a kid, he showed those things in Heroes that Stain hates, and that's where they're heroes to save themselves and not everyone. Shit like that. So he was about to kill him, and Deku shows up and punches the fuck out of him. They have a brief brawl where we see how Deku's really applying his new form, which is using like 5% of All for One. He actually even point blank punches Stain with a Detroit Smash, and Stain just kind of goes, eh.
Yeah.
And it did nothing. Which, you know, even though you can argue it's 5%, it's still All for One, which is fucking strong.
All for One is supposed to be the strongest quirk in all of, you know, this universe. And even if it was like 0.1%, it's still supposed to be like super fucking dominant.
Yeah. So for him to just go and kind of like look at him like, that was a good punch, but you're still fucked. I was sitting there like, holy shit. And then the big cliffhanger was, for last week, Todoroki shows up, and he's like, you should give me better directions. And people, I don't know why they thought it came out of nowhere, when at the beginning of the chapter, we saw Endeavor. We knew they were there already.
Yeah.
So, people say, oh, this is an ass pull. It's really not. I have no problem saying when a series pulls out an ass pull, but Todoroki's appearance here was not that.
I do think it would be funny, though, if every week for, like, the next several months, it's just, he's about to kill somebody, and then all of a sudden a new classmate shows up at the end.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny. But I think, do I think that even with Todoroki they can beat Stain? No. I don't.
It would hurt Stain for him to lose to students at this point.
I think what's going to happen is Endeavor and Gran Torino are going to finish up with the Nomus, and when they show up, Stain's going to retreat. Because he's not an idiot.
Yeah. But at the...
I think that's the best thing to do.
At this point in Stain's, you know, not career, but at this point in the story, he has no business losing to students.
Yeah. Even if Todoroki's quirk is busted, he's fucking strong. So yeah, Boku no Hero Academia has definitely been, I'd say it's been a highlight every week. It's been consistently good for a while now. This arc in particular.
Yeah, I like it. I have to admit something. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Student Olympic arc, or whatever the hell it was, the tournament or whatever. I thought that was kind of just there, but they've really picked things up quite a bit.
Yeah. It's nice, like, you know, I get, like, they're in school, so school things are going to happen and whatnot, but it's nice for, like, a superhero story to have arcs where they fight supervillains.
Yeah.
Rookies are not. So, I'm going to give Boku no Hero Academia for the past 2 weeks, I'm going to give it main event. It's been fucking awesome.
I agree with that, main event.
So, that leads us to our final discussion for today, and what is easily the longest episode of Anime Jump to date. One Piece came out today, and after a week off last week, man, and did it fucking come back.
Yeah, shit's happening.
First things first, Fujitora is not going to be going after Luffy and Law because he gambled on it, and it was, if it rolled a snake eye, not snake eyes, but if he rolled the one-sided die to the 1 point, he would not go after them. That's what happened. He cheated, basically to protect them, which is neat. I like that. And, so if that's kind of it for Fujitora, they're leaving. The Marines are leaving Dressrosa. And Rebecca's going to be princess. No more fighting in fucking Coliseum for her.
Yeah, no metal bikinis for her.
Yeah. So after that, we cut to Sanji's group. They're alive. They're alive. They've escaped from Big Mom, and they've landed on some island because of some girl. I think we're gonna get a flashback about this.
I hope we do. I mean, I really don't like the idea. Oh, they just escaped from Big Mom. No explanation how or why or nothing. They just did.
I have a feeling it's Coupe de Burst related, but I still would like to see it. That's the point. That's the big point. Is I want to see it.
I guess this also debunks your hope of Big Mom being a friend. Since
I wouldn't say it was a hope. It was just a pretty popular fan theory.
Okay, it debunks that theory.
For now, anyway.
Yeah.
However, they seem to be in Kaido's territory now, so they went from one bad situation into a much worse situation.
Yeah, so far Kaido is seeming like, you don't want to fuck with him at all.
Kaido's going to be a big fucking deal, and that's not only because he's fucking huge. Because we get introduced to Kaido this week, finally, probably one of the most anticipated characters in a long time.
Yeah, he's been a big deal for quite a long time. I mean, he's at least been mentioned since they introduced Whitebeard. And
yeah. And then there was the whole fact that the original plan for Dressrosa was to destroy Smile so Kaido would be pissed and kill Doflamingo.
Yeah.
So
kind of wish we kind of saw that fight.
Just looking at Kaido's appearance, it's probably pretty one-sided.
Probably. But it still would have been cool to see.
Yeah, that's true. But so that brings us to Kaido himself. First off, one of the coolest fucking designs yet. Kaido looks fucking awesome.
He looks like a goddamn monster.
Yeah. I'm excited for the Kaido arc. Going back to Sanji again real quick. They take out some guys who look like they're using some of the smile powers. Like this guy turns like his arms into like sheep horns. It's pretty weird. But it does know that is like the next morning. So what's weird to me is that they haven't tried to make contact with their captain.
No, they haven't.
But anyway, going back to Kaido, he tries to kill himself in this chapter. He jumps off a sky island that Uroge is on. And he happens to drop down in front of Kid's Alliance. Sinks one of their ships from falling into the earth so hard. And then when he gets up, he says he's going to create a war. So, holy fuck.
One of two things is going to happen. Either Kid's Alliance joins Kaido, or they're going to die.
Or we just don't see it, because there's a lot of thing about One Piece when they do this in-between arc stuff. They'll show us the beginning of big events, and we won't learn the result of them until after the next arc. Like with Ace and Blackbeard, that happened with that. We saw their fight, we didn't know the end result of it until like 2 arcs later.
Yeah.
So that's a very big possibility. But Kaido himself, I just can't get over his design. He looks so fucking awesome.
That he does.
I think his Devil Fruit, first off, I do think it's a Zoan type. And I think it might be Dragon.
It might very well be.
It'd be... It just looks believable that it would be a dragon to me.
I almost thought his Devil Fruit would be something like not being able to die. Because that was the big thing. Like, no matter how many times he tries to kill himself, he can't die.
I don't know. There's also... his design. What part about his design is that his horns look a lot like the Ors family.
I was just gonna say that he looks like he could be related to the Ors family.
Which I think that would be interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's because of the horn. The style of the horns is just like what we saw in Ors and Ors Jr.
Yeah.
So, who knows? But it's awesome to see him finally in the series. I think it's safe to say. I just don't know what's going to happen next. I think next week, if we don't see any of this stuff with Kaido, it's finally going to be leaving Dressrosa. It's time to go.
Yeah. I mean, Dressrosa, they've been there for a long time. That arc started...
Dressrosa is the longest arc in the series.
Yeah,
so far.
they've been there for years now.
It's not even like up for debate. I think even like until this arc, Skypiea was the longest. This past out Skypiea about like 30, 40 chapters.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. And as far as we know, this is only like the halfway point of the entire series, right?
The time skip was the halfway point.
So we're getting a little further in, but we're not close to like the final quarter of it, are we?
No.
Jesus.
No, I guess it would depend. If we fight a Yonko right now, if they fight Kaido next, that's one of the 4 emperors down.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big plot point.
You know what? I want to know what happened to Blackbeard.
What do you mean? What happened to him?
Obviously he became an emperor, but I want to know what the fuck he's doing. You know, especially now that we had his fucking guy there at Dressrosa. You know,
oh, yeah,
what the hell is he doing?
And we also know that Kuzan's apparently working with him.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell are they up to?
I think we won't hear from Blackbeard again for a bit. In fact, I was surprised he was even present in this arc. To be honest.
Yeah. He's probably going to be like the final guy, or if not the final guy,
oh, yeah.
right before the final guy.
I think it's going to be probably either him or Kainu will be final villain. I think it will be Blackbeard.
I can see the world government being like the absolute final thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of ways they could go with it, but that's a discussion for another time. Rating for One Piece this week. I'm going to give it main event. It was awesome.
Main event.
Okay, on that note, we are finally done with this episode of Anime Jump. Longest one yet, but that's because we reviewed a movie, so that didn't help anything. But, yeah, so, as always, see you again soon for more anime discussion. I should be able to do proper reviews for the next couple of weeks, and we'll see how it goes from there. But, Dave, thanks for joining me, and, alright, we'll see you guys next time.